Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy right next to me, his name is Tim, and his majesty of knowledge dwarfed by his beauty. This is the Second Legacy, and thank you guys for stopping by. Today, this episode on Friday, we have got so much stuff to jam into this episode. You guys are going to love every second. We've got the Go Safe Act. We have gun control on parade. We have inadmissibility slips from the actual people doing it. The media is malfunctioning and manipulating. We have a G3 segment, and then we've also got the Seventh Circuit going forward. It's going to be a great episode, people. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. And Tim, you look great, but I hope you ate your Wheaties because you need energy for this one. This is a good one.
Yeah, Apple Jacks this morning, but
that'll work. No, that'll work. That'll work because Apple Jacks is not only delicious, it's also a classic.
It is a classic.
But it really is a delicious classic. I was a big fan of Frosted Mini Wheats myself, and Fruit Loops. But anyway,
that's Captain Crunch. What's wrong with you, dude?
No. And okay, hold on a second. There is a valid reason that I never explored the cavernous escapades of Captain Crunch. And that's because it's like chewing on knives and the top of your mouth becomes a victim to its evil.
You get used to it after a while, especially if you get the flavor that has the extra berries in it. They did that for a while.
You would go with the extra berries.
I think they actually did just all berries too. But anyway, go ahead.
But that's neither here nor there because that's not because we have a Go Safe Act, Tim. We are finally going safe. Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
That's about time.
It is. We are going safe, and I can't wait to show you the acronym later. But first, we must get down to brass tacks, Tim, because we have Angus King, Senator from Maine, Martin Heinrich, Senator from New Mexico, Arizona, John Kelly. They're all coming out, and they are saying Mark Kelly, rather, this is the way. Now, before we dive into all the manipulation and the stupid that we're about to show, let me show something that I think is important that I caught in a CNN interview from Angus King before we dive into the actual announcement. Dr. Button Pusher, let me know you're alive, and then after that, let's hit number one.
I will find you, and I will kill you.
Yes.
He's a little scary this morning.
He's a little spicy this morning, but that's okay. Doc. That's okay. I like the energy. You're bringing it. Let's hit number one, though.
These are particularly dangerous, useful only for killing people, and we want to diminish that lethality.
Ooh, hold on, Tim. Hold on a second. I hate to be a stickler for words, because those are important. You notice how he did not say, stop these events from happening?
Right.
You notice that?
He said reduce lethality. Yeah, lethality to... You don't want to stop the shootings. You just want to decrease lethality because what are you trying to do here?
Exactly. So now if this logic follows, Tim, and I mean, bear with me, we're going on a crazy bear trail right now. If you're going to put forward a bill that pretty much removes any gas-operated firearm or rifle, which would be the GO part of Go Safe Act, gas-operated, and you're trying to reduce magazines to a maximum of 10, you're not getting rid of the actual firearms that are already here. Wouldn't that imply all of these things that that people are going to do bad things with firearms, but you're just trying to minimize lethality on something you can't stop? Wouldn't that kind of follow?
It kind of sounds that way. I don't know if that's what he means or not. They don't think these things through. They kind of just run at this wall and they forever say stupid stuff, right? That's part of the fun of the Second Legacy is we constantly pick apart the stupidity. And so it's just more of that. I don't think this has ever been a fully, thought out exercise in their minds. They just have the end goal of taking your guns away, and they'll say whatever they have to scare the fence setters and the people that are outside of the community into voting for their lunacy.
Wow. You are feeling generous this morning. What was in those Apple Jacks? Because that's a lot of positive intent, and I like the vibe. I do. I look forward to showing you more clips which will demolish that into the universe, but I like where you're at right now. So, you know what, Tim, before we hear from more Angus King, just common sense gun reform, gun control, it's all good. Let's go to Mika Brzezinski because that'll get your goat. This is number 2, Doctor.
It's been a month since the mass shooting at a bowling alley and restaurant in Lewiston, Maine that left 18 people dead. A staggering number that only begins to show the magnitude of America's gun problem. The tragedy is one of more than 615 mass shootings in the U.S. this year, and gun violence has killed more than 39,000 Americans so far in 2023.
Oh,
right. So half of those numbers of the big number are suicides, as we well know. So it's an artificially inflated number. And then, of 100%. Course, it always seems like we're on repeat here, man. I mean,
I know, because they're on repeat.
I know.
We're repeating their repeat.
It's like every time we have to debunk these morons, and it's just like they just come right back with more stupid the next day with the same stupid.
That's right. Stupid on repeat.
Yeah,
it's Groundhog Day of stupid.
We had all these mass shootings. What you mean is you have all these carjackings and gang violence and inner city chaos.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with mass shootings.
No. Oh. No. It turns out that's an inflated number to scare people. And to your point, Tim, 50% of that 39,000 plus in 2023, 50% is suicides, which are also terrible, by the way. I'm not trying to minimize any of this, but something else, Tim, again, another Groundhog moment that there, I'm sure coincidentally, there was a glitch in the teleprompter. They meant to say this. They just forgot. That's down 20% from year over year. But they're not going to tell you that. In fact, if you looked at that exact same style she delivered right there, Tim, you could say at any number, there have been over 100 people killed by firearms this year in 2023 alone. Yeah, you're out of context. That seems kind of a thing. But when you actually look at the numbers and provide the audience that you're trying to manipulate and abuse mentally, it's actually going in the right direction. And I found that so weird, but that's the setup, Tim.
Yeah. Well,
that is the setup.
They can't get their common sense gun reform, AKA gun bans, unless they have the chaos. Again, we've said this many times on here. So they're never going to acknowledge the down. And it's not like a new thing. Like the trending national violence going down is not a new thing. This has been occurring since the mid-90s, and it's been on a downward trajectory since then. Every year, it goes down for the most part. If it ticks up a little bit one year, it'll go right back down the next. And they don't want to talk about that, because if they talked about that and tried to understand what's actually bringing the violent crime down, well, then it's going to just shred their gun control arguments. So they got to say, well, no, don't believe your lying eyes over here. Look what we made over here. We got a pretty new graph we put together. And look, people are dying in mass numbers. There's over 22 billion dead Americans this year. And it's like, oh my goodness, people. And we could use accepted statistics from places like the FBI, which I don't trust them 100%, but I trust them more than, Giffords and Newtown and all the other jokes that put out their own numbers.
Right. They just manipulate numbers. No, 100%. Well, Tim, you're going to be pleased to hear before our gun grabber segment later, before G3, I brought infographics. I brought them, and you're going to love every moment of it. Okay. I'm so excited. It's got multiple colors on it. Oh, it's got multiple. It's a flowchart, and it's got multiple colors.
Did we put something in there for our VP so she can understand it, or no?
Yes. No, exactly.
I love Venn diagrams. Okay.
Nice. Thanks, you know what? I would just like to compliment the setup, the execution of that, and then the follow through. It was so good. But Tim, I think this is important, my man, because it's Friday and we got to be real with the people. The Second Legacy. Do you know the business end of an AR-15? Are you aware? Because you're about to find out.
Is that the butt stock?
No. Actually, it's even stupider. Okay. Let's hit number 3.
Necessary and will work. What we're focusing on is the way the gun operates rather than what it looks like.
Okay.
Because if you say you're banning a gun because of what it looks like, the manufacturers can modify the looks and then they escape the ban. So what we're focusing on is the high capacity magazine.
Right.
This is the business end of these things. That's what makes them so dangerous, is when the shooter can keep shooting. So our bill says you have to have a fixed magazine in the gun, 10 bullets maximum, no detachable magazine.
Right.
I just want to say, Braden, watch his hands in that clip.
Oh,
he's like
I
this,
know.
And then
I know.
And then I love it when people talk with their hands and they're trying to think and they're using their hands to jog their memory.
They're doing inappropriate.
And it's the magazine. It's the magazine, the 10 round with bullets. It's like, seriously, dude.
It's okay. It's only on national TV. No big deal. No big deal. He's just playing with an imaginary pickle. But
yes,
I mean,
we're going to ban pickles and AR-15s because the business end. We don't want you putting that in your butt stock. What did I?
What?
Can we?
Excuse me.
Cut. All right. Well, thanks, sir. Let's go on to the next topic. Yeah.
No, that was a good observation. They are clowns. But it turns out, Tim, that the magazine is the business end.
And all these years, we in the 2A community thought the muzzle was the business end. And we didn't know that it was the clipazine in bullets, not cartridges, bullets. And he just wants to make it so you can't even have brass, gunpowder, and primers in your clipazine. He's worried about the bullets. So we're going to regulate the bullets.
Yeah, but that's what we've been doing wrong. You never put your hand in front of the muzzle or anything in front of the muzzle you're not willing to destroy. That rule is obviously wrong.
You don't want to destroy. You got to be careful with the magazine too. Because
you never do that.
Don't touch the magazine when you're shooting.
It's so bad. So that's the business end of the gun. That's the business end. And after all, we're gonna solve the problem of mass shootings and the massive issues we have in this country by reducing from 30 rounds to 10 rounds. Tim, 10, because now 10.
So I got to talk about the 10 number because this drives me nuts, dude. Where did they come up with the 10 number? It's like the 6-foot rule during C-19, just arbitrary. Why not 9? Why not 11? What's magic about 10? Is it just a round number? What do you like so much about the number 10? Why not 15?
Exactly.
I mean, the standard capacity for an AR-15 is actually 30, but we don't want to do that because that's just too much in the clipazine. We got to regulate the number of bullets, not cartridges, bullets.
That's actually a really good point. So let me add some conjecture to this. So everything that I've seen in all of our exploration of the gun control zones that we spend all our time analyzing and diving into, I mean, quite honestly, it's kind of like you drop into a dragon's nest with a sword and a shield, and you're just like, hope this works out, because it really is like that. But I've seen them come out in court cases and they've said, well, that's because 10 rounds allows you enough to defend yourself, but not enough to go ham sandwich. It's always based off this little fuzzy idea that you don't need 10 rounds and it only takes effectively 1.5. And the average defensive use is like 1.67 rounds. It's something around that, but they've never given a true reason why 10 is the magical number.
Well,
I don't know if it's be it one more than 9, so it's not like the New York Act, or it's like one less than 11 because 11's the number of like some god and Thor. I have no idea.
Yeah, they don't know. And this is what's interesting. So if you go back in time, I think it was during the Obama administration, there was actually an Indiana sheriff that posted a video on YouTube that went viral. And he took a female shooter that was not an experienced shooter, not a competition shooter, and he gave her a handgun with 3 10-round magazines, and he gave her a handgun with 2 15-round magazines. Mm-hmm. And he had her shoot on the clock and reload and hit targets. And guess what didn't change in any significant way? The number of rounds she could fire in X amount of time. The magazine reload takes a fraction of a second, even in unexperienced hands. So what you won't see them doing, at least yet, is going to say, well, you can only have 10 rounds, although he did say fixed, so you can't change magazines.
Right, exactly.
So they're trying to address that because they can never deal with that problem. Like, well, okay, we're going to say you can only have 10 rounds, you can only carry 1 spare magazine. And you can only, if you're right-handed, you can only reload with your right hand because we want you to lay your gun down, take the magazine out, put the magazine and pick the gun back up. If we catch you loading with your left hand, doing it quickly, now we're going to charge you with a felony. I mean, this is the mental gymnastics these morons have to go through to try and to regulate guns. But keep in mind, this is only an interim step. That's why the stupidity doesn't really matter to them.
That's why it
if they
sounds
can
so
get
dumb,
this done, then it's just one step in the direction of total confiscation and ban, which is their end goal. So that's why none of this makes sense. It's just like the NFA. It doesn't make sense because there's a bigger objective. There's a bigger agenda push there.
Well, it's funny you say that, Tim, because yet again, you follow the line without even knowing where the line is going because you just set up the next clip perfectly and you haven't even seen this part yet.
I haven't seen it yet. Okay.
You haven't even seen this part yet. This is so glorious. I love when you do that. So we've got one more clip from Angus King, and fair warning to you, Tim. blood might be about to shoot out of your eyeballs. Fair warning. Fair warning. So just get ready. So Dr. Button Pusher, this is number 4.
What's the argument to gun owners who want their rights protected and would argue that they should have a right to have this weapon?
Well, the best argument is Justice Scalia, who was really a pro-gun conservative justice, and he made the point that the Second Amendment is not absolute. Like the First Amendment, there are limitations. And he said it doesn't mean that you can use any gun whatsoever in any place whatsoever under any circumstances. So this is really historically consistent with 100 years ago, almost 100 years ago. Machine guns have been heavily regulated, essentially banned, and sawed-off shotguns. Why? Because they're especially dangerous. This is exactly the same pattern that we're going after to say, look, these fit into this category of especially dangerous. We're not taking guns away from anybody, but we're saying you can't manufacture new ones with these detachable magazines.
Wow, where do you start with that one?
Oh, there's so many places. There's so many start. It's like a build your own adventure. There's so many great points
here,
right
here
there.
Again, let's just take the end and work to the front, right? So
backwards.
He starts in with, well, you can keep what you have. So you mean the 300 million that are out there aren't a problem, just the new ones are.
Right. Well, so this is AR, so it's 25 million. That's the important number. We're going to go back to that in a second.
I know, but so it's just, yes, I blew that number up just because I'm being overly dramatic here. But what I'm trying to say is there's no consistency in their policies. And when they outline their policies, it only serves to illustrate that they're not serious, that there's something else they're driving towards. It's not reasonable gun control and safety like they're always saying. Because if that were the case, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing and saying what they're saying. It's oh my goodness.
Okay, well,
it's going to give me an aneurysm.
I know.
And you know what's funny?
Blood.
And they go into this like, well, machine guns are especially dangerous. Are they? Are they really? Because have you served in the infantry? You know what they teach you? To use semi-automatic. Why? Because it's aimed fire. That's how you win wars. You hit the enemy. You don't spray lead into the air. It's
true. Can I get a Gavin Newsom? Yeah, actually.
That's true, because it's true.
Mind-boggling.
Yes. Oh, and that's not even my favorite part of that. That's a very good point, though, Tim, with the NFA and the extremely dangerous, because they're angling all of that. That entire segment of clip was to angle to get ARs inside the NFA, all the while using the Heller decision, of which he's going with Scalia,
right?
Because that's actually in the Heller decision of they're not all unlimited, or the rights are limited.
But then he went on to say things that Scalia did not say.
Exactly right. And he also omitted things that Scalia did say.
Right.
So he removed the idea around common use, which was from Miller, which was referenced in the Heller decision, completely ignored that. 24 million of these are in circulation. So that's one thing he just completely ignored. And then the other thing is he added the idea that ARs are extremely dangerous weapons, which would put them underneath the NFA, which would be a tax stamp situation for an AR. All this part made me angrier than any of the rest of it, because he's manipulating people who don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And he's omitting little pieces here and he's adding pieces here to make it a completely different decision.
Right.
And then he's trying, he's a pro-gun SCOTUS, so it's okay. Liar.
It's interesting that they've devolved into just focusing on the magazines. They seem to have learned from the 94 assault weapons ban, because I've had this argument with many of the gun grabbers, right? They'll say, well, we just need another assault weapons ban because the first one was so effective. No, actually it wasn't. The government's own first study, before they re-engineered the study to show that gun control apparently works, which it didn't. And so it did nothing. It literally did nothing. They could find no evidence that it did anything. But then these gun grabbers say, well, we just need to reenact the gun ban, the 94 gun ban. There was no ban. There was a ban on cosmetics, which he talks about. Because you cannot tell me the difference between an AR-15 and your grandpappy's semi-automatic 30-06 rifle, Remington, right? Because functionally, there's no difference. So he's going to focus on the magazine, which the Remington uses a detachable magazine, and there are magazines out there larger than the 5 that it originally shipped with. So he can't talk about the actual functional differences because there aren't any. He wants to now focus on the magazine. So they're trying to figure out, well, where can we go with this? Because we got, our pickles slapped and we talked about muzzle devices and flippy things that go up and barrel shrouds because they don't really change the functionality of the weapon. It only messes with the appearance. So we got to go after the functional differences. So what's the functional difference?
Exactly.
The magazine. Let's go after the magazine.
That's one piece. No, that's one piece. But again, Tim, you set up the next segment. So that wraps the segment with Angus King. But now we're going to go into the next segment, which is all around the actual verbiage of the Go Safe Act. And I can't wait to show you this Go Safe. Go Safe.
Sounds like
this beautiful people, it could be that too. It could be. There's a lot of pickle references going on. Apple Jackson pickles. It's a lot going on. But in the magazine, the magazine pantomime you mentioned earlier in another segment. This segment we're going to dive into, beautiful people, the actual Go Safe Act. So, Tim, without further ado, I've got to show you how meaningful and impactful this is. This is number 5, and Dr. Buttonpusher has it up. This is the Go Safe Act, the Gas-Operated Semi-Automatic Firearms Exclusion Act. That's what Gas Act, Go Safe
They're
Act.
really struggling to come up with something for Go.
Yeah, gas operated. Yeah.
Okay, so that means roller delay isn't in there. Cool. Straight blowback, not an issue. Browning actions.
No, they make it all in there. Trust me, it's there. So the Go Safe Act is a common sense proposal, Tim, designed to protect communities from gun violence while safeguarding America's constitutional right to own a firearm for legitimate self-defense, hunting, and sporting purposes. That was such a good. This is where
we're going to preserve your rights by taking them away.
Exactly.
I mean, you gotta love the wording.
Safe. They'll be so safe. They'll be so safe in this corner. You just can't touch them. Yeah. It's kind of like a 30-year bond. It's there. Trust me.
We're going to save your life by chopping your head off. I mean, come on, we're saving your life over here.
But look, the good news is after we chop your head off, you won't ever die.
Yeah. You're already dead. You're done. You fixed everything. Funny. Yeah.
We got this.
These people are amazing.
Exactly.
They are. Well, semi-automatic.
Gas.
Well, you know what? We'll just ditch the AR-15s and with the gas operation, and we'll just reconfigure them to roller delay, and then all of a sudden it's not a problem, and we can get around the Safe Act, just like we just changed the barrel shrouds and the flippy things that go up in 1994.
The flippy things. Well, yes. Well, let's go to number 6 because I got to show you this part. Then we get the flowchart. Then we get to play with crayons. So the Go Safe Act regulates firearms based on their inherently dangerous and unusual lethality of their internal mechanisms, as opposed to focusing on cosmetic features that manufacturers can easily modify, to your point earlier. If enacted, the bill will regulate the sale, transfer, and manufacture of gas-operated semi-automatic weapons by, here we go, establishing a list of prohibited firearms. Who doesn't love lists? I love lists. Preventing unlawful modifications to permissible firearms of the ones we allow you to have. Mandating that future gas-operated designs are approved before manufacture. And preventing unlawful firearm self-assembly and manufacturing. Tell me, good Lord. You know what that is? You know what this, like when I first read this sounded to me immediately like the gun control groups got in a room with these people and they said, here's what we want. We don't like ghost guns. We want a list of banned guns. We want a universal registry of where the guns are. But how do we use different language to not say those words? And this is what they came out with.
I know, right? I mean, so he originally was making it sound like, oh yeah, we're just going to, ban the magazine and make it a fixed magazine. Now lock that sucker in at 10 rounds and everything's fixed. And if you got, some of the really nasty ones, you can keep them, because just by banning, magazines going forward, we're going to stop all crime in America. No, weird, huh? When they don't get the desired outcome that they pretend they want, then they're going to go for all your guns. But then, but they got to have that list, right? So, look, there's a list because in every assault weapons ban, there's a list. So instead of talking about the features, right? Instead of talking about the flippy thing that goes up and the barrel shroud and the pistol grip and the bayonet lugs, well, that's silly. We look dumb because they keep talking about cosmetic because that was our argument all along. So now they're just going to take it to the next level. We're not going to get into the minutia of cosmetics. We're just going to ban them by name.
Exactly.
Because they look scary.
So good.
Right? So we're going to ban them by name because
they do.
Yeah. But then they're going to say, but we're really doing it based on functionality and gas operation. And that is so funny because in 1994, the workaround was simply, put a thumb hole stock on it versus a pistol grip. Just take the bayonet lug off and we can still sell the AKs and the ARs. And that's what they did. And that infuriated them. So here's their next step in this silliness, but they only focused on gas operation because they don't know jack about guns. They don't realize that semi-automatics aren't all gas operated. But when your enemy's making a mistake, don't interrupt.
Let them. You know what, Tim? That was an excellent point. But we've come to the moment in this segment that I have been waiting for and longing for. They got out their crayons, Tim, and I have an infographic for you. And it is a flowchart of epic designs. Allow me to walk you through the flowchart, if I may.
Okay.
Because this is glorious.
I can't wait to
All
see
right.
this.
Oh, it's so tasty. This is number 7. Dr. Buttonpusher has it up. So here's the flowchart. What firearms are regulated? And we've got pretty colors. We've got orange, green, and red, Tim. So is the firearm semi-automatic? If yes, we got to go down the world some more. But if the firearm is not semi-automatic, sale, manufacture, and transfer of the firearm is not regulated. So if it's a single shot or bolt action, a pump, we're good. We're good. So that goes to the green side. But if you were that pesky semi-automatic, we had to go down the board game some more. So now the next question is the firearm gas operated? If you say no, then you're good. Go to the green zone.
Well, what's funny
if you
is
said yes,
the first bubble and the second bubble are the same thing.
I know.
It's funny.
I know.
I don't even know what they're talking about. It's like,
no.
Is the firearm semi-automatic? Oh, yes. Then go over here. Is the firearm gas operated? Oh, no, not gas operation.
Not exactly. But we've got to continue down the candy cane board game. So I think we're going to just call the green zone over there. That's the sweet little ladder chute that jumps you right to the end of Candy Kingdom or whatever. So now we said yes on firearm gas operated. So now the next question is the firearm a recoil operated handgun, semi-automatic shotgun, or 22 caliber or less rimfire weapon? If yes, you get on that ladder of happiness. But if no, you got to go to the next step. So here's the next question. Does the rifle or shotgun have a permanently fixed capacity of 10 or less? 2. Does the handgun have a permanently fixed magazine or capacity of 15 or less? If you said no, then the sale, manufacture, and transfer of the firearm is indeed regulated. But if you said yes, you get to go through the candy cane forest. So that right there, my friend, is the flowchart of tyranny that they've put forward as something easy to understand for everybody.
Talk about convoluted mess and not understanding how firearms work in the slightest. Wow.
Dude, it's so bad.
Apparently, recoil operated firearms above 22 or 12 gauge or 410 or whatever shotguns, those are okay. But if they're 22 recoil operated, they don't understand anything. It's like they just look at a book, or they get on the internet and do 10 minutes of research, and they think they're experts, and they put out just moronic stuff like this. This is awesome. It'd be even better if it's a Venn diagram, but this is pretty good.
It is pretty. I love a good flow chart.
And
with simple no and yes. And pick your own adventure.
And it's green. See how it moves from orange to green? It's green, folks. Gas operation. That's like farting cows. We can't have gases being expelled out there. They're greenhouse gases, and this is a green movement. This is to save the planet and the kids.
Oh,
and the yellow
green means go.
Purple-lipped frogs. I mean, this is all
green means go.
Green means go.
And as you know, if green means go and go means gas operated, ipso facto gun control.
And what happens? What happens?
It works
when none of this has any effect on anything, because it won't. The 94.
Well, it's also DOA.
Right. Well, yeah. But I mean, let's pretend that it has a snowball's chance. Okay. Much like the 94 ban did nothing. What's it going to do? And so when it does nothing, and we still have violent crime in America, because we will, well, what's the next step? Because this is what I always want to ask the anti-gunners. Like, okay. Let's play a game. Let's pretend that you got this bill passed. Okay. And then the bill does absolutely nothing. There's still crime in America, because there's going to be. Mm-hmm. What's your next step, or do you stop here? If we roll over and say, okay, we'll let you have this one, but it ends here, would you agree to that? Because when this does nothing to change the outcome, are you coming back to the well and you're going to go for the next law? You're going to take away the 10-round magazines, make them 5? Are you going to take away the direct blowback and the roller delays because they're not gas operated? We're going to go after those next time. Where does it stop? And they can't tell you where it stops, because it stops with you giving up everything you own.
Oh, 100%.
And you're completely
it stops
defenseless
with joining the modern era
in a country where the state has no obligation to protect you.
Right.
And where they turn violent criminals loose.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, legitimately, it stops when you're Australia, when you're Europe, when you are a 21st century modern socialist state that is a complete domination of individuals' rights whenever they need to.
But does it really stop there? Look at the UK, right? So they do all their little gun bans and stuff, right?
That's true.
But then what do they move on to after they're done?
Because it's true.
What do they move on to after the gun bans don't change the violent nature of their culture, because people are stabbing each other and beating each other and walking into each other's homes because they know there's nobody in there with a firearm. What do? Well, then they start going after kitchen products, because I was told by somebody that lives in the UK that if you go to IKEA and buy a new knife set, you have to wrap it up, put it in the trunk of your car, take it straight home. If you dilly-dally around and stop and get lunch and they catch you with those knives, you could face charges. I mean,
can't be dilly-dallying.
They start to regulate stupid things like, well, you know, a 3.5 inch fixed blade is too dangerous. You can go 2 inches. Oh, well, we had somebody stabbed here. Stay with a 2 inch blade. We got to go to 1 3/4. This is what they'll focus on. It will never stop, folks. It will never stop.
No, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. But you know what?
Solutions don't work.
You know what does?
And the push for control never ends. All right, guys, look, this episode has ran just a little bit long. We don't typically want to get into the 40-minute arena. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Goofy Gun Grabber segment. We're going to separate that into its own video. So please be sure to swing by and check the Goofy Gun Grabber segment out. Again, it'll be posted as a separate video to this one. Thank you for watching Second Legacy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.